Wow, what a catch!
LBW, first ball.
Tremendous catch, tumbling forward.
He's bowled.
From the BBC World Service, in association with ABC and All India Radio, this is Stumped.
Hello and welcome to Stumped, your intercontinental hit of news, features and debate from the quirky world of cricket. I'm Alison Mitchell, still in quarantine in Sydney. I'm counting down the days, though. I have to say I've been very impressed with the level of care they show here. Every couple of days I get a knock at the door and then a different chocolate treat has been left outside, or a colouring book to practice a little mindfulness, or a little sleep spray and a set of earplugs because I'm right by Sydney Airport. Although I did have to have a conversation with New South Wales Police today about my date and time for checkout, or as they referred to it, my release from custody. I had to check that I hadn't done anything wrong. I think I know what they meant. But yeah, lots of cricket this weekend, particularly looking forward to the Women's Big Bash final. So there is lots to keep me occupied inside.
Ali, you look surprisingly enthusiastic and happy for someone who's been in a cave for a few days. I hope they keep up that supply of Tim Tams and the rest of it. But I've been away on a desert island literally last week, Lord Howe Island, lovely place. There's a cricket ground there, but they don't play very much cricket. But I'm pleased to note, having come back, the weather's getting better. It's getting warmer. It's going to be very hot this weekend. And let's hope that what we see out on the field is just as exciting and good for the blood, making it race, because it's been a long time since we've seen any high-quality men's cricket, and this is something to savour.
Well, I hope I could use some warmth as well, Jim, and of course maybe a few chocolate treats there, Alison, my way. But I was traveling over the weekend as well. Oh, yeah. And of course I was traveling over the weekend up north, trying to market this very large golf tournament that I'm into. Oh gosh, sometimes regret it, but I hope it does happen. But back in Bangalore, it's a little wet and gloomy and depressing because of the after effects, or well, the continuing effects of another cyclone in the Bay of Bengal, which hit near the east coast near Chennai. So it's all our outdoor plans are going for a 6. But luckily, of course, on television, we are hoping to watch the very best, as India are in Australia trying to do what they did a couple of years ago.
Yeah, this is the exciting thing, isn't it, about cricketing life at the moment, and being in Sydney in particular. Even though I can't get out to see the cricket, I know it's happening just down the road. I'll be able to watch it on the television and listen to it on the radio. But we know that Australia's women initially got international cricket going in COVID times down under, and now the wait for the men's international series is almost over because, yes, as you're mentioning, Charu, India's tour of Australia starts with a one-day international at the Sydney Cricket Ground, and there will be a crowd of around 25,000 people. So what's that, Jim, like 50% capacity, and you'll be in the ABC commentary box. Have you got that usual anticipation? It certainly sounds like it for the start of the men's summer. Or do you have any trepidation, what with, this broader COVID situation?
Well, as we've been saying for some months now, you just can't take a lot for granted. But it does look as though we've got a bit of clear air over this awful pandemic that's been raging for so long and is now quietened down. I think the major issue for the fans around watching and enjoying and listening to the cricket is when you're at the venue, you've got to be conscious of all these controls and protocols and social distancing. And, in the lead up to actually getting into the ground, it's a bit more complicated than you would like. I suppose it's a small price to pay for getting a chance to get out and see some live action.
Yeah, and Charu, India haven't played an international in any format since the start of March. I know that there's been the IPL, obviously, but there must be huge anticipation in India for this.
Well, there was a fair amount of... the fans were satiated, if I can use the term, after the IPL because there was so much of it. But yes, this is the big contest, isn't it? This one, South Africa and England, no disrespect to the other nations, and people are hugely looking forward to a good result. Even though the Indian team collectively hasn't really played any cricket or international cricket, but I think just about everybody was deeply involved with the IPL action. And it is expected that they have had enough time now to gel well together as a team. They are a fine bunch of people. All of them have had a fair amount of action. They seem to be in reasonably good shape. And I'm sure that the Indian team, as well as the fans, are happy that it's not the test matches we are starting with but white ball cricket, which is what the IPL was all about.
So we've got 3 ODIs and 3 T20s before the Test series, and it isn't normally, you find it the other way around, don't you? Touring Australia with the Tests first, but I wonder, Jim, do you mind it this way around? You sort of get that bit of sparring going on before, if you like, what a lot of people might see as the main event of the Test series.
I think it can work. Put it this way. People look upon T20 as dessert without a main course. This summer, we've got a little bit of entree and hors d'oeuvre, or whatever you want to call it, with these white ball games. And then we're right into the main course. Before, you could call it dessert with a big bash. I'd call it a cup of coffee with a couple of crackers after the major event of the summer, which is the Test series.
Yeah, and I always remember actually the 2005 Ashes. You know, there's always a chance, isn't there, to score an early psychological blow if you have the one-dayers before the Test series. And I'm sure, Jim, you remember that when England were able to get a couple of wins, well, significant wins over the Aussies and get amongst them, because usually they're so cooked after a Test series that the one-days can kind of slide away into almost into oblivion sometimes. It can feel very much after the Lord Mayor show. But Charu, if you look ahead to that Test series, not such good news for your fellow Sharmas at the moment, with Rohit and Ishant ruled out of the first 2 Tests.
Well, yes, dangerous time for all us Sharmas, but I can assure you I'm sort of as okay as I can be for the moment. I think Rohit's loss will be very big, because even though somehow he hasn't played as much Test cricket for India as he should, being India's, for me, certainly the most classy batsman. So he will be missed. It's a strange sort of a mystery problem with his hamstring, but it seems to be 80%. Who knows about these percentages? 80% okay. And Ishant too, because I think the Indians won in Australia last time around because of their reasonably good bowling attack. So Bumrah and Shami will miss Ishant, who is perhaps the fastest out of the 3, and because of his height can get a fair amount of lift off the Aussie wicket. So yeah, half the series gone before these guys can work it out. I think it's a big setback to India, both of them. But just back to that white ball coming before red ball cricket. Jim, in Australia, it does seem that, it's Test matches and the rest is all hors d'oeuvres, as you said, or snacks. But I can assure you that in India, every match, whether it's T20, one-days or Test matches, seem to be given a similar billing. I have heard in the past that the Aussies are saying, well, if we won the Test series, the rest don't really matter. But and I know there are no points for winning one and not the other, but is white ball cricket, or is achievement in white ball cricket in these series just not that important for Australians? Or so it seems to us.
Well, if they get licked 3-0 in both white ball competitions, there will be concern. And if Bumrah can put a few over Warner, Labuschagne and Smith, score some points there, as it were, psychologically in the lead-up to the Ashes series, yes. I think as the games stand on their own, it's number 2 versus number 4, and I suppose it means a bit in terms of the rankings. And yes, any contest between 2 countries carries some importance.
Yeah, it's been an interesting narrative, the fact that the one-day series is the first cricket to come, and yet already so many of the column inches have been taking up around the selection issues around the Test side. I mean, the first major global tournament that comes up next, before the Ashes even, is a World T20. So these T20 matches that are going to be played between Australia and India, should really have a great deal of resonance, albeit, you could say, well, that is still 12 months away, but it's all preparation and part of a journey towards that. Well, as one big international series gets underway here in Sydney, another one kicks off in Capetown just a few hours later, and that's South Africa hosting England for 3 T20s, followed by a 3-match one-day series. So again, white ball focus there. It's England's first away tour during the COVID-19 pandemic, and by way of warming up, they've been playing intra-squad matches amongst themselves. Now, Kagiso Rabada, the South Africa fast bowler, described their team bubble this week as being like a luxury prison. And maybe that ties in with what I said earlier about being described as being in custody. I'm sure they've probably got a little bit more luxury than I have, although I haven't got it too bad. I caught up with England's vice-captain in white ball cricket, Jos Buttler, and asked him how he was coping with life behind proverbial bars.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Yeah, pretty similar, isn't it? It's lovely hotel here the vineyard in Capetown. I think one of the big things about bubble life is having outdoor space, and it's a nice being able to get outside and chill by the pool and etc. is pretty good. The ground's just 5 minutes away, so it's very comfortable. Obviously, a good bunch of lads. It's good fun to be back with everyone. So yeah, as bubble life goes, it is pretty good.
I mean, strange times continue. I mean, a few coronavirus cases amongst the South African squad. Has that caused any unease amongst you guys about the matches to come?
Not particularly, but I think it just remember how important it is to follow the rules and the guidelines set in place, because as soon as you sort of get a bit relaxed, something could happen that could derail the whole tour, and we don't want that to happen. We all want to play cricket and put on a good show. So just a real reminder really to be very due diligent.
I noticed that your team did rather well in the warm-ups, Team Buttler versus Team Morgan. 2-0 up now on your skipper. Is it time to tease him that you're ready to take over?
Yeah, we had a pretty good side. I think both sides are pretty good, weren't they? So yeah, it was good fun. It was good fun for the group to have those matches with such a competitive squad as well. They're really high quality matches and some really good competition. And I think that's been one of the strengths of the team is everyone pushing each other for places in a 15 or places in an 11, really healthy competition, and that creates good problems. So it's just nice to get the win over Morgs.
Yeah, I mean, he won't be around forever. He's 34, you're 30, so you've got a few sort of years on him perhaps. Whenever he moves on, would you feel ready to step into a captaincy, be a role that you'd really be interested in?
Yeah, if that was something down the line, I think I'd certainly be interested. It's not something I've done a lot, but I've enjoyed the vice captaincy stuff and being around Morgs and discussing cricket and sort of trying to learn from him. So, but I'm sure he's got plenty more years to go yet. And he's been a fantastic captain, and we all love playing for him. So we hope he'll carry on for a lot longer yet.
From the BBC World Service, this is Stumped on All India Radio.
Next on Stumped, to a fast bowler making rapid deliveries of a very different kind. Netherlands paceman Paul van Meekeren should have been playing in the T20 World Cup in Australia this month, but when COVID-19 put paid to that ambition, he found himself short on money but big on time. So after weighing up his possibilities from his home in England, Paul decided to sign up as a delivery driver for takeaway food. And when he posted on social media last week about his temporary job switch, well, there was quite an extraordinary response. Paul, welcome to Stumped.
Hi, thanks for having me.
It's good to have you. Let's start with this tweet then. Just remind us exactly what you posted out and then what happened immediately after.
I think it was on a Sunday evening. I was watching the Masters actually, having a night off on probably delivering the food. And I didn't really, thought about it too much. But then I saw tweets from, I think it was Crick Info about that the World Cup final was supposed to be played. And I thought, you know what, I'll just make a bit of a joke and pretend the Dutch team has made the final and I was supposed to play cricket today. But instead, my career is looking slightly different at the moment with the lack of cricket. And I decided to sign up for Uber Eats and do some delivering because it gave me a lot of freedom for when cricket starts.
Okay, I should say Uber Eats and other delivery options are available. But tell me then, so what was the reaction? No. So you posted that, and what happened next?
Just my phones didn't really switch off anymore. Just a massive wave of people retweeting, liking it, and replying to it. Something I've never experienced myself, and kept me busy for a few days, and sort of the support from. It sort of shows how big the game is in India, especially the support from the people, was amazing with wishing me well and hoping that cricket is going to be back up for everyone in pretty soon and all those kind of messages. So, yeah, it's been a positive experience.
Hi, Paul. This is Charu Sharma from India. And you mentioned you got a lot of support from India. So here's some more. This time last year, though, Paul, you were helping Holland qualify for the World T20. But of course, you haven't played cricket since, and we've seen the biggest and the bigger nations get back to cricket pretty quickly. So what is your thought on the fact that the Netherlands, amongst other associates, are just not getting the opportunity to get back on the cricket pitch? Do you feel that perhaps the ICC ought to do a little more, or the schedule needs to be a little more even?
I think obviously one thing, the resources in cricket back in the Netherlands is obviously very low. We've got guys who study and and work on the side of things. So, we in general get quite a bit of notice before the game starts. So sometimes it's really hard for the people back home to set up games in a 1 or 2 week period because, some guys might not be available. So I think that's some of the challenges we face. A lot of people, I think, know now how expensive probably staying in a bubble can be. And, for us, hosting 2 or 3 games is already financially a very, very big task. And now if you have to put 2 teams and officials into a bubble, that those costs go probably double, I can imagine. If the ICC, you really need the backing of the ICC to get associate teams playing either against the full members or against the associates itself. And, that should be the main priority and not maybe the financial gains we get from playing those games. Because at the end of the day, if we want to grow the game around the world, the associate teams need to play as much cricket as they can and against the strongest opposition they can. And sort of deliver. I think I read it the other day. It shows in sports like rugby where they've done it, where the smaller teams playing the bigger teams on more occasions, and that gap is getting a lot closer. And I think it's happening in cricket, but not enough.
Just back to the reference of taking matters into your own hand, Paul, because you have set up a Dutch Players Association during the lockdown period. Tell us a little more about that. How's it going?
Yeah, good. We actually got a meeting in about 10 minutes. So, we're in the starting process. So we're really starting to build a relationship with the KNCB and as player associations like the PCA and the ACA around the world, which is the England and Australian ones. That's sort of what we're aiming to sort of deliver the same kind of services as they do as we for our players. So, we're gonna hopefully get a agreement in place with the KNCB where, a few more details like contracts or the way we travel or where we stay, but also the mental well-being of the players is looked after, because that's a massive thing. Again, that showed again with the bubbles and how mentally tough that is on players. So, we want to make sure that we create an environment together with the KNCB where players have the setup to prepare as well as they can for big games like a T20 World Cup or the ODI Super League, which we are part of at the moment.
Well, that's it for this week's Stumped here on All India Radio. Don't forget to get in touch with us on Twitter using the hashtag BBC Stumped and download our podcast from your favourite podcast app. Thanks to my co-hosts Charu Sharma and Jim Maxwell, and to you for listening. Join us again next time. Bye-bye.
Stumped is a BBC sport production for the BBC World Service in association with the Australian Broadcasting Corporation and All India Radio.